The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke. Every year the parents of Jesus went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up as usual for the festival. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Assuming that he was in the group of travelers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. When they could not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and at his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth, and was obedient to them. His mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in years, and in favor with God and human beings. The Gospel of the Lord. Well, we all know the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, but what about our own families, the ones that we grew up in, yours and mine? Were they holy families? Were they? Before you jump too quickly to an answer there, let's take a moment to consider what actually makes a family holy. And to do that, we have to reach some kind of agreement on what we mean by holy. Many people believe that holy means perfect. Well, God is holy and God is perfect. But outside of the Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, perfection is a pretty hard thing to find. We don't need to be perfect to be holy. To be holy is to strive faithfully to be and to become more and more the person that God made us to be. It's really not all that complicated. But I remember seeing it put this way once, and it stuck with me. It goes like this: just remember 3 things. You are not God, this ain't heaven, and don't act like a jerk. That's holiness. In other words, God's in charge, life is hard, and love one another even when it's hard. Actually, to be holy is to recognize that we're not perfect. A big part of being holy is being honest about the times when we are unholy, when we need to ask for God's forgiveness and help to keep us from making that same mistake over and over again. And if we fall and fail again, then we need to depend more on God's mercy and strength to help us to be more and more the person that God made us to be. Comparing our holiness to other people's holiness is unproductive, and it's actually quite unhelpful. But people do this all the time, don't they? We do it all the time. I won't be judged by how I measure up to Mother Teresa. I'll only be judged on how faithfully I became the man that God made me to be. Mother Teresa might be a great role model for me, but I'm not called to be her. I'm called to be me. And you are called to be you as God made you. Families are called to be holy too. A family is called to strive faithfully to be a community of persons who love and care for one another. Now, no family does this perfectly, not even that family that you think is perfect. I assure you, they're not. Their problems might be different than your family's problems. You might rather have their family's problems than your own, and your difficulties might be greater than theirs. But God is not asking you to be like the Joneses or the Murphys or the Stevens down the street. God calls every family to grow together in love through their own circumstances, with all the gifts and graces, all the beauty and brokenness, the generosity and the greed, the sacrifice and the selfishness, the hopes and the hurts that mark every family. God does not judge families by their brokenness, but by how they seek to heal and reconcile with one another in the midst of their brokenness. And every family, without exception, is called to do this. In the second reading today, St. Paul writes to those holy and beloved people, okay? Holy and beloved people. But he still reminds them to put on compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, patience, and to bear with one another, and to forgive the grievances that they have against one another, and to put on love, and to let Christ's peace rule their hearts. This is the advice that he gives to holy people. In other words, he's still saying, remember that you're not God, this ain't heaven, and don't act like jerks. Be holy. Strive to be individuals and families that God made you to be. And when you fail, and you will, seek God's mercy and try again. I have seen many broken families, many, who are also holy families. Not perfect families, but holy. Families torn by every kind of hurtful problem that you could ever imagine. And yet families who strove to be compassionate and kind and gentle and loving, patient and forgiving. Perfectly? No. But did they try? You bet. And often, they extend forgiveness to those who have caused the most pain. And that's really incredible to see that kind of reconciliation happen. You know, when someone's really hurt you, nothing quite like family who knows you through and through to hurt you. And yet to be able to forgive those who cause the most amount of pain really makes that family a heck of a lot stronger. And they come together and nothing can get in the way. It's like we've turned the page. We've moved over to a new chapter. And it's up from here, if you let that happen. Holiness is not about perfection. Rather, it's a path to be chosen, a path which leads to God, a path that we need to strive to walk faithfully, even if we stumble and fall along the way. When it comes to personal holiness or to a family's holiness, we might even be tempted to think that one size should fit all, right? But I hope that our own experience of ourselves, of others, of other families, might show us what I'm sure God already knows, that every family has its own size and fit when it comes to holiness. The Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph certainly did not fit the traditional family expectations, right? A virgin mother, a foster father, a 12-year-old son who stays behind in Jerusalem to preach, and his parents are running scared, trying to find where he is. And yet they are the holiest of all holy families. Each of these three strove faithfully to be what God's love asked of them and to follow God's plan for them. Not because we're all that holy, but because we're trying. We're trying to walk the holy path to God. It is because of that that the Lord invites us as a church family to be here at his table. We come together, bringing all the gifts and graces, the beauty and brokenness, the generosity and the greed, the sacrifice and the selfishness, the hopes and the hurts that mark every family. May this sacrament that we're about to receive here today renew our resolve in the new year ahead to walk this path, a path that leads each of us, our families, and our parish community closer and closer to the holiness of God. May God bless you all.